Here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, cum fidne aperte dis. So this here means they've coming out of some alliance. Aperte is openly. So when the fidnes or fidene have openly, if you want to say something stronger, they've revolted. Tullus, the nominative, something dative or ablative, metius, and exercitu. And eos means his army. Here's the pickup. It's ablative. So Tullius, with Metio having been acetoed, summoned from Alba, and his army, Tullius, the nominative, ducated, he led this against contra hostes, against the enemy. Urbe, when he had transited the Anio, or the Ananeum here, so when he had crossed it, he conlocated a castra. He placed his camp at the confluences of the rivers. Inter eum locum, between this place and the Fidenas, the Exercitus, the army of the Vantiums, the Vantine army, they had transirated at the Tiber. They had crossed the Tiber. So we've got some different groups here, and between this castra, these camps, and that camp, another army had crossed. So high means these people. Et in AK, so these people also were in their battle lines or formations. Prope, flumen near the Neuter River. Tenuere, they were holding the dextrum cornu. This would be the right wing, the right horn, if you want to call it. And in the sinistro, in the left, the fidentes, they consisted, they halted. Propius, comparative, closer to the montes, the mountains. Here we have Tullus again. Adversus preposition, the Venetem hostem. So Tullus, against the Venetian enemies, he dirigated, he directed or arranged suos, his own forces, and another accusative, the Alban forces, contra the legions Fidomium conlocat. So, taking dirigate for his own men, he's controlled them, put them there, and he's conlocated or located the Albans against the legions of the Fidentinum, whoever the hell these people are. If you live in Europe, you might know them. So I'll make a daily dictionary from dirigo. It's an alternative form of dirigo. Direct steer, line, point, straighten out a level. It's a third conjugation. We go to the main way it's spelled, dirigo. Distribute, scatter, direct to a place. Direxes, it's perfect. Now, there's a site called Read Latin where you can go to these as well. So you'd have cum fidne aperde discescent, and if you click on that word, it'll bring it up here, discescere. It's the alternate form of discescent. It's a shortened way of doing it. Discescere for the third person plural. And if any word you want to pick on, so if we wanted to transirat, you click on that and it'll bring up the definition of transirat. That's another way of going through a text. Where were we? Albano, to the Albanan, non plus anime erat quam fide. So there was not more of courage than of loyalty to the Alban. So it doesn't sound like he's got much courage, these people, or loyalty. So to this guy, it's actually speaking about their leader. He nec menere ergo, so therefore then he didn't menere, he didn't remain, nor, or sis is the past passive, nor did he dare, it's a defective verb, nor did he dare take an infinitive to cross openly. So he didn't want to remain or to cross openly. So sensim, it's one of the im or tim family. It means little by little he succeeded or separated to the montes, to the mountains. And inde then, when ratus est, passive, or deponent, when he had thought, comes from real, when he had thought that he had satisfactorily sabise, gone up to, or say is just reflexive on himself. So when he thought he had satisfactorily gone up to it enough, he rigated, he his total battle lines. He got them in the position and they were ready. And fluctuans, so we'll take it as an adjective, fluctuating animo in heart, basically, in his decision. So he's fluctuating in the decision so that he would tear at the tempus. Tempus is a neuter. He would wear down time. Tereo is to wear down. Any explicate, unrolled, or you might want to say he positioned his ordinands, his rows of men. Concilium erat. So his plan was daret to give to qua fortunarem, to the matter of circumstances fortune decided on. So to which side fortune wanted, he would inclinare, he would lean his vires, to that what fortune declares. Vires is the third declension, meaning strength. So that was his plan. Miraculo primo. So in the first place, this was seemed something to be wondered at. Miraculo Romanus to the Romans, who was steteranting or standing proximi, basically means next to the Albans, as nudare latera. Here we go. They sensed that their flanks, their sides, were being stripped bare, or nude, by the digressu sua sacrorum, by the digression or the travelling off and separating of their ally, the sacrorum. So inde, then, and equis, a knight, citato, having dug the spurs into his horse, inside his horse, he announced, regi, to the king, that the Albans had obirated, had gone away. Tullus, in this re trepida, in these trepidatious circumstances, he vovided, he vowed, duodecim 12 salioses, which would be a type of priest, and they would be, and, because the qui means and, fanas are shrines, to palor, it's like when you go white-faced, and pavori, that's like fear or panic, as an author would put it. The equitem, this is this knight, he's now in the accusative, so it looks like Talent is in crepans. He's rebuking him with a clara voce, with a clear voice, so that the hostes, the enemy, would exorderant. The ex usually means to overhear. Orderant means they heard. Means in their hearing. That he ubited, taking the infinitive, he ordered him, or bid him, or bade him, to return into prolium, into battle. Nihil trepidation opus esse. Opus esse means there's a need. Nihil means that nothing was in need, and the opus esse in the ablative here. So no trepidation was needed, no fear was needed. Suo uso, by his own order, the album exercitum, the Alban army, was circumducing. They were leading themselves around, so that the nuda terga, the naked rear of the Fidenses, they could invade it in advance against an attack. Idem, pronoun, the same guy, imperated, he ordered that the equites, the horsemen, the knights, would irrigant, would raise up their hastas, their spears. Id factum, this fact, magna parta, a great part of the peditum of the infantry, Romanorum conspectum abiuntis alban exercitus intersapit. So this means it caused the hedge between, intersapited, from the conspectum of the Romans, abiuntos, from the going away of the Alban army. So this fact hedged off a great part of the Roman infantry from the Alban army abiunting, going away. And this blocked off their conspectum, which means the sight of this. Qui viderant, those who saw it. Id quod ab rege auditum erat rati. So rati, it's plural, they thought. So those who saw it, they thought what auditum erat, what had been heard ab rege from the king. Quod means what. So, and you might want to say therefore, they pugnated, they fought in a comparative, more acreous, more fiercely. So, as a result, terror transited ad hostes. Terror crossed over into the enemy, into their hearts, you might want to say. And, or varianted, they had heard this with this clear, loud voice, dictum would have been said, and magna pars, a great part of the Fidenates, as they had added to their colony, had been quibus, which had been Romani ascent. So their colony had Romans amongst them, and for this reason, sciabant Latin. They knew in Latin. They knew, understood what was said in Latin. Itaque, and so accordingly, lest subito, a sudden decursu of the Albanorums, and suddenly decourse or running down of the Albans ex colibus from the hills, they would be intercluderentored, they would be shut off ab oppido from their town. So they vertunted their turga, they turned their backs. Tullus instated, so he instated, he pressed in hard, and fuso cornu, and the routed wing, remember it's in battle, so it's on the horn, of the Fidentes, he returned ferocchi, he returned more ferocious into the Vientes people, perculsum struck by alien pavor, by alien pavor fear, by the fear that the others had experienced, literally. We might want to say their neighbours. Nec ille, neither did they, tulere, bear the impetum of this attack with a force, but their fuga, their flight, ab effusa, was objected up against them, was cast upon them, was the flumen, the river, ab turgo from their backs, arcabating, warding them off. So they were stopped from their flight by the river that was beyond their back. To which, quo, postquam, after their fuga, after their flight, they had inclinavited, they had aimed there to go there. Ali, looks like correlatives. Some, jactantes, present participle, throwing off their arms foully, in a disrespectful way, they were ruabanting. They rushed into the aquam caeci, blind. And here's the other correlative. And others, dum cunctantor, while they were hesitating or pausing, in ripus, on the riverbanks, amongst the fleeing, they were oppressi, they were crushed, in between flight and a concilium or plan of fight. So in between their plans of either fleeing or fighting, they were oppressi, crushed. Non alia, so not another anti before Romana pugna, Roman fight, fuit atrociator, was more atrocious or fierce. Chapter 28. Then the Albus Exitus, then the Alban army, which had been a spectator. Exercitus is a group of people, but it's counted as a singular. So here they are singularing. They are watching spectators of the contest, the curtamine, was deductus, led down into the campus, onto the plain. Metius to Tullus congratulated him on the de victos hostes, on these conquered enemies. Contra, against this, Tullus adloquated, he spoke, accusative to Metius benignly, kindly. Quod bene vertat, which exchange went bene well, and he ubited, he ordered, taking the definitive, him to join the Albans, to join the Roman castris. Basically, he's ordered the Albans to join their camp with the Roman camp. Things had turned out well. Sacrificium lustral, E is for neuter, IS is for male and female. In diem posturum para. So he was preparing in diem posturum for the next day, a sacrificial purification ceremony. Urbe in luxit, when there was light, I guess it's impersonal, ablative absolute, when everything was prepared, paratus omnibus, ad solat, as accustomed, he ubited, he ordered to be called ad continentem into an assembly, utrumque exercitum, both of these armies. almost done. The praecones, the heralds, ab extremo orsi, so arisen or begin from the extremo, from the outside of it, they excitavere the albinus. So they stir them up, the albans first. These, by the novitate, by the novelty even, or also, motai re, movements of its circumstances, so that they could hear, they considerate, they stood proximi. I'll move that again. They stood near to the regem Romanorum, to the king of the Romans, so that they could hear it in this contentation, in this assembly.